The way we teach our children becomes their inner voice. Welcome to the I Give Life to Life podcast with yours truly, Coach Nrgy, the single parent's life coach. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in. Thank you for subscribing, for following, for sharing out this channel and this particular episode with your loved ones, your friends, your coworkers, anyone whom you believe will benefit from the message from today. So today's message is all about the way that we teach our children becomes their inner voice. So I have a question first. Have you ever noticed that if you were raised by parents who yelled at you, you also became someone who yelled? What about if your parents didn't express emotions, or if they didn't allow emotions to be expressed in the home as you grew up? Did you have difficulty as an adult with expressing your emotions? And what about this one? Have you noticed that if your family were the type to save money and to budget and to possibly plan financially, that you took those same skills into your adulthood and you were someone who was financially smart or financially intelligent when it came to spending and or saving money? Those are just some of the exceptions that are out there where people may have changed for better or for worse. But however, there are so many other examples and situations that actually confirm that statement. The statement of the way that we teach our children becomes their inner voice. And to break it down just a little bit for this particular episode, that points to the fact that based off of how children may have grown up, the household and the environment and the atmosphere of what they were raised in, that will determine more likely than not the type of adult, the type of person that they became. And so going back to some of those examples I just asked or read, if a person grew up in a household where the parents or the family or siblings constantly yelled, they argued, they fussed, they fought, then that's what is being modeled in front of that child. And so when that child grows up, unless they have another example, another role model, another type of influence outside of the household that would show them another way, then that particular child would end up also yelling and fussing and fighting and just being basically portraying the same types of behavior that they grew up around. And so when that person then displays those types of actions as an adult, whether it be at home or in their own home with their own family or at work, or with their friends in their neighborhood, in their community, whatever the case may be, then that's when other people will look at them and say, wow, like what's going on? Like this person they'll be labeled as being angry, or they'll be labeled as being someone who is unstable. And that person, that individual who grew up in that particular environment, a lot of times they just don't know. They don't realize that that's what they're doing, and they don't realize that there's a better way. I'll say it that way. They don't realize that they have another option or another way of living, another way of responding, another way of reacting to the different issues that life may bring them, to the different emotions that they may be feeling or facing. And when placed in different situations, again, that's, that are different environments and atmospheres that are shared with other people who may have had other upbringing, then that's when they're labeled in such a negative way. But a lot of times it's unfortunate because that person just may not know better. As adults, when we know better, we tend to do better, or at least we tend to want to do better, most of us. But for those who just simply did not and do not know better, it's like, what do we expect? What else can that person do? How else can that person react and respond if that's all they know? And are they to blame for that? Not, not every person will have the opportunity to have a more productive, a more positive way of reacting. Not every person will have that available to them or afforded to them based off of their upbringing, based off of their community, their societal upbringing. And then they're painted in such a negative way. But it's like, do we take the time to get to know that individual? Do we take the time to get to know why that individual responds and acts out the way that they do? Why that individual has the type of responses and the way that they do? I'll bring it around a little bit later. Let me bring up another example that I read earlier. What about the parents who raised their children in the household and they did not express their emotions to their children? The emotions in this particular example would be that of love, care, concern, being humble, being gentle, kind-spirited, gentle-spirited. If they did not have that modeled, then they're going to be very uncomfortable with expressing those emotions to other people or allowing other people to express those emotions just, in their presence. Those children who were in that type of household or who were exposed to that type of upbringing where the parents weren't comfortable enough to say, I love you, I care about you, you've done a good job or a great job, keep up the good work. Then when other people tend to, point out their, or when other people, let's just say as they become adults, when other people, whether it be boss, friends, a future spouse, points out their acknowledgement or acknowledge, their good things that they may have done, or just simply the care and the concern or the emotions that that person may have for them, that particular individual will not know how to take it. They'll feel uncomfortable. They'll feel as though something is wrong, something is awkward, or there are some people who take it as though someone is trying to say that they are weak or trying to paint them in the picture of being a weak individual. But yet it's simply them not having those emotions expressed outwardly, openly, and freely as growing up as children. And so they don't know that it's okay to do that. They don't know how it feels, because when someone is sharing love for you, someone is sharing care and concern with you, it can definitely feel awkward. And so they'll tend to shut it down. A person like that will tend to shut it down. They'll tend to run from it. They'll tend to, have a frown upon their face after hearing it or after receiving it. But are they to blame for that? Can you blame them for that if that's something that is foreign to them? Having someone express those emotions to them is foreign to them. If they were never in a household where, even as a child, naturally as children, as human beings, but definitely as children, we naturally want to love on our parents. We want to love on those who are taking care of us, those who are there for us. And so it is definitely a learned behavior to not be able to naturally express emotions of love, care, and concern. And so what do you do? Like, what does that person do? Have you ever put yourself in the shoes of someone who you attempt to give a compliment to? You attempt to, explain to them or give them a hug of gratitude, or you want to tell them thank you for, something that they may have done for you, or you just may want to love on that person, and and their response is that of rejection. It's we have to do our best to not take it personal. But at the same time, what if we don't know that, what if we don't know that that's that person's upbringing? Then we usually will usually take it as though we'll take it as being offended. And that's why it's so important to just pause and say, you know what, there's a reason for this person responding this way, because that's just not a natural way of responding. What about the third example that I provided? Have you noticed that if you were in a family who may have saved money, budgeted, planned financially, those could possibly be some of the skills that you took into your life, or that person took into their life as an adult. And I use this example before I go into explaining it. I brought this example into the mix because I wanted to make sure that it's understood that the upbringing as children that we go through, it can either be positive or negative. So it could go either way. And so this third example is one of being a positive example. So what if a person grew up in a family where they were taught about spending, saving, budgeting, and planning out the finances, planning for, the long term, living financially for more than just 30 days, planning and living financially for the next year, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years. Then those are traits and qualities and skills that individual, that child, once they become an adult, that they could possibly use those same skills in their adult life. And so again, that's an example of a positive means of how, as children, however they're taught, the environment that they are raised in, that has a huge effect on who they become as an adult. It has a huge effect on the life they live as an adult. It has a huge effect on what they contribute to their community, to their neighbors, their coworkers, their boss, as an adult. And so going back to the original statement, the way we teach our children becomes their inner voice. It just lets you know that as adults, the society that we live in, the world that we are in and living in today, the world and all of its traits that we are experiencing today are, the majority is rooted from each individual person's childhood. There are some exceptions. Like I said earlier, there are some exceptions to this rule, just like there are to just about every rule. The exception being that there are some people who will go a different way based off of however they were raised, the type of environment they were raised in, the type of household they were raised in, for better or for worse. There are some exceptions where they will go a different way. And so my next statement is, how many adults today, or just a statement itself, not even much of a question, but there are many adults today who are walking around and living their lives as the children they were when growing up because they were never taught different. They never had another example provided to them. They did not know that there was a better way. They didn't know there was a different way. And so they're living their lives as best as they can with the information that they have, with the upbringing, the lessons, the skills, the traits, the strategies that they were taught. They're doing the best that they can. And unfortunately, that their best is not, how do I say this? Their best oftentimes is not the best that we need here in society, here in the workforce, here in the communities, here in the schools, here in wherever. Just period. Their best, unfortunately, does not contribute to the growth of mankind, the growth of just the human race, period. And it's unfortunate. A lot of the behaviors that you see adults portraying, some people just are so oblivious to what they're doing. They're so oblivious to the actual pain that it's causing. They think that, it's not that big of a deal. They'll get over it. People will get over it, because they feel that they've been through so much worse. They feel that, well, if I made it through this, or that, then surely this person over here, the person I just affected by doing what I just did or by saying what I just said to them, this person surely can get over that. But they have no idea that they are indeed contributing to life and society and culture, but they don't understand that they are contributing in a negative sense, in a sense that does not promote growth, promote happiness, that doesn't promote longevity, that doesn't promote peace. And I want to ask the question, like, is this you? Have I described anything that you have been through? Have you been in the shoes of the person that I've been describing? Or are you still walking in those same shoes present day? Is this someone that you know? Have I been describing someone else? Someone that you know who's been walking in those shoes? I can say for myself, I definitely was one of those people. For sure. I grew up in a household where there was arguing and fussing and very loud and expressive example. I witnessed, or I grew up with loud and expressive ways of voicing your opinion, voicing your emotions, but not the good emotions, well, not just the good emotions, but, even the negative emotions. I grew up in that type of household, that type of environment. And in my young adulthood, in my late teens, early 20s, that was me. Oh, all day. Yeah, that was me. I could go toe to toe with someone, anyone, when it comes to words. I was great at it. You want to get loud? Okay, cool. Let's get loud. You want to get loud? I'll get loud right with you, and then I'll take it up another notch. How about it? You yell at me? Okay, well, don't yell at me if you don't want to get yelled back at either. So, again, anytime that you guys ever hear me talking about something, I've experienced it one way or the other. I've either had it done to me, or I've been the person who actually did it. I've been the person that walked in those shoes. I've been the person that actually, took out that put those actions into play. So when it comes to the yelling and well, I'll say it this way. The way that I was taught, even indirectly, of course my parents had the best intentions. And definitely, let me say this for the record, there is no fault being put on them at all. They had the best intentions, but they could only do what they knew to do. So it's just like a cycle, just like anything else. It's a cycle. So what I was about to say was, the way that we teach our children becomes their inner voice. So the way that I was quote unquote taught, or in the environment that I grew up in, became my inner voice. My inner voice told me, in order to be taken seriously, you have to be loud. In order to make sure no one does anything to you or gets over on you, you have to be loud. You have to yell and raise your voice to make sure that that person or those people understand that they are not going to just get over on you, period. And so you have to make sure that your voice is being heard. And this is the way to do it. You raise it. Raise your voice. You yell. Man. But I saw the effects of it every time that I did it. Like I said, as a older teenager, young adult, I saw the effects of it. I saw how the results were never a positive outcome, was never a peaceful outcome. Most importantly, I felt the way that it felt after the fact. Thank God for the conscience that I have. The conscience that I have. The Spirit. Thank God for allowing me to be moved by the Spirit and to actually listen to the Spirit, to feel the teachings and the direction and the guidance of the Spirit, because without that, I would probably still be doing that today. I would still probably be expressing myself in that same manner today, now as a adult, just pure blank period as an adult. But it was the regret, the weight, the negative weight that would just that black cloud that would be over me. After, of course, in the moment I felt like, oh yeah, I just gave this person a piece of my mind. Yeah, I bet you they won't, try to come at me like that again, or try to, get over on me again. Otherwise, they know what they have coming for them. But then, after it's all said and done, yeah, there was no longer a smile on my face. It was a feeling of guilt, shame, hurt. I knew I did something wrong after the fact, but it was like, but that's what I knew. That's all I knew. Like, that's, how am I wrong for that? But, going through personal work, personal development work, getting more into the word, becoming more aware of who I am as an individual, who I am as God's child, who I am as a spirit being, and then understanding the effects that it caused on other people. I never wanted to be the person who would, cause pain or hurt on anyone, because I knew how it felt. I had, I've been hurt and ridiculed and, have had so many things done to me growing up. It's just like, wow, if I know how it feels, then why am I doing this to someone else? That's not right. That's not cool. That's lame. So I, at a certain point in my life, once I reached a certain age and, I made a decision to live differently, to become a better person, and to be aware of how I treated people moving forward. And so I'll tell you that deep inner work is what can bring those behaviors out. And that's what can develop us to be the person that we want to be, that we strive to be, that we have the urge to be released, to grow up and live a life that we can create for ourselves. We no longer have to live that life that it just feels like was forced on us, or it feels like we were, that was created for us to do by other humans, by, other people who don't know better, who may not have had the, the tools, the trainings to be able to give us the proper tools and the proper trainings to become the adult that we need to be. That deep inner work is something that I definitely did for myself. I saw the need for it. I saw the importance of it. I saw that it works. And I'll tell you right now, it's not easy. It's not easy, and it's not quick. It's going to take time. And man, but it's all about, what's more important. What's your why? What would be your reason for wanting to shift? If anything that I've said today in this particular episode has touched you personally, whether it be you're that person that I've described, because there are a few other examples that I wanted to say, just really quickly. I won't go into detail, but what if you were raised in a household that just simply did not communicate? And so therefore your communication skills are not up to par, especially nowadays where everything is all about communicating. You're communicating, again, directly or indirectly. You're communicating with your body language. You're communicating, of course, with the words that you're saying. You're communicating, via written text, whether it be email or text on an actual phone. You're communicating in your art. You're communicating in your music, your songs. But what if you were in a household that did not support communicating? Then as an adult, the communication is not going to be where it needs to be. So I'm going to end it right here, you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And this is, once again, the I Give Life to Life podcast with yours truly, Coach Nrgy. If you guys want to go into any deep inner work for yourself, then go ahead and reach out to me. You can schedule an appointment on my calendar at coachnrgy.com. That's coachnrgy.com. Thank you so much for following, subscribing, commenting, and sharing. And thank you for giving this a 5-star rating. Talk soon. Keep smiling. Bye-bye.